Hey, good morning. Welcome to the Dutchman's Woodshack. Um, okay, so people were asking me about this. It says the House Wizard. Well, that was my company. Okay, so here's how it started. All right, I was the house doctor for a year, maybe two. Then pops on this guy on TV. His name is Ron Hazelton. He had his own TV program. Was called the House Doctor. So I had to change it. So then I changed it to this. And then somebody else had the House Wizard. So I ended up being the Dutch Carpenter. That was the last one. Now I'm the Dutchman's Woodshack. Did I confuse you? There four times. See, I had to get online inside my own room for my own website and stuff that I can do it. But the search, here's the thing. Years ago, I had all these ideas, inventions about doing stuff. I found this out. This the reason I'm saying this is when you want to invent something, you have to pay somebody some bucks to do the research to make sure that it's okay to do what you're going to do. I mean, back 15, 20 years ago, I came up with that idea with the roller covers, right? I came up with that in like the 1980s. Well, I talked to a guy. The guy said, "Well, you'd have to pay me three in the 1989, 90, something like that. It was going to cost me $3,000 or something to do just to do the research on it." So everything's going to cost you something. So anyway, what I'm going to do is I want to talk about what I'm going to upcoming shows. Okay. Number one is I want to start a program where, hey, we can do challenges. The springtime is a great time for building things for kids. Birdhouses, I could show you how to make a birdhouse out of pallet wood, no sweat. Stick challenges for kids. Hey, good morning. Top of the morning to you guys. Hi, Dexter. How you doing? And Honage, welcome to the show or the program. So what I'm talking about, what I want to do is get it from you guys what I should have. Okay. I do all kinds of stuff. I do furniture. Okay, so I have this one piece here that I'm working on. Actually, I'm not working on it. I got to put the top back on. But I built this thing. Okay, so the idea is I want to see if you guys can build something like that. Now, it's actually pretty simple. There's a couple of ways you could do this. I made the legs straight. I didn't turn them because I didn't have the lathe at the time. I made this a while ago, before the lathe. So I think it was like 15 years ago or something. I made it out of maple. And all I did was cut down some strips, like 2x2s. And I glued two pieces together to make a good sized leg, you know. And all the rest of it was pretty simple. There's a couple of ways you could do that thing. It's pretty simple. Not a big deal. The top's a little bit different. And at the top, the idea there was I was trying to be creative. I was using scrap wood. Because I ran out of wood, I'm like, well, I'll make a top like this. And that's me. A couple of things I did wrong that I could have done better, but you always do that, right? Kind of like a prototype. I made a bunch of those one year. There was a lady that was doing what they called greenology event, and that was in the springtime. I was making outdoor furniture like this with a hole in the middle for plants and just things you can sit in the garden, right? So, I got this one here. I got this one and another one here at the shop in the house. And one's upstairs here. The other one, this one, I'm gonna sell probably this spring. But I wanna. It's pretty simple. Okay, there's two ways of putting this. Actually, there's three ways of putting it together. I did dowels into parts that were going to be the strongest in biscuit joints on the parts that aren't going to carry a lot of weight, and it works. Uh, it's actually doing a dowel. If you could get away with doing a pocket joiner. Now I got a pocket joiner for the top. That was the thing, so you could take top off. And if you do pocket joints for all the rest of the stuff in places where people are going to see it, that's cool. This one here, I made the tray in the bottom the same as it's all one piece. You can make them to where they're separate. You pull them out. It's a pretty simple. It's actually a pretty simple stand. Yeah, I think it's like 2 feet, 2.5 feet tall. It's like 28 inches, 24 inches or something. So it's easy to do this. Hey, Smallwood, how you doing? Nice to see you. Welcome this morning. I'm doing it early because I got a bunch of stuff this afternoon I got to do, and I don't know what's going to happen. So, and I might do it tonight again. I'm just doing a short one today. It's usually tool time Thursday, and I could talk about tools and stuff. But what I'm going to do is set up a thing where you can do something really simple. I want to challenge people. I want them to challenge me. So, and then maybe I'll fork out a prize or something. Like something I make like this. A box. I love making these boxes. Actually, they're not really a big deal to a lot of people, but I don't know. I like making them. See, the problem I have sometimes is this wood I get, it might be too small. Like, for instance, this here, I could make a box out of, right? Or I can cut it out in small pieces and quarter it and make pen blanks out of it. But I got so much wood in here, I don't need to. Trust me, the pen blanks are coming out my ears. I just haven't made a pen in a while. So, so the idea is whatever you guys want. And plus, I like talking shop. Okay, so one day I'll talk about tree species. Now, the big thing for me is tree species. I have my backgrounds in forestry and botany, so and firefighting, by the way. And and this is where this comes into play. There's a lot of guys that do a lot of great work out there. People like to cover up wood like this with their gobbledygook. They're taking a Dremel or they're carving, and that's fine. That's fine. If you want to do that, that's fine. But me, I irk at it because I like the oddball shape that I come up with. When I turn this, I have one idea in my head, and 9 times out of 10, I'll turn it. I'll end up changing it because of the way it looks, right? Well, lately, none. You know what happened to the segment and get? Okay, this is a true story. I got that lathe in 2015. And I got it from Craftsman Company, by the way. I did demos for them. Never turned a lathe in my life. I went up to, the Bronx, New York, to do demos. And one of the things was turning. Craftsman tools were really good to me. They were really good to me. I've got like $5,000 or $6,000 from them, free for doing demos. So that was cool, right? And this stuff is good stuff. It's not quality. It's not cheap stuff. So that Craftsman lathe. It's an old lathe, but it still works like a top. But the only difference between it is that and the jet is I can't turn the head around to do bigger bowls, and it doesn't have a variable speed unless I change the belt. That's fine. Craftsman was great. I mean, I wished I was still. The new Craftsman company is Craftsman, DeWalt, Black and Decker. It's a big conglomerate, and if you go, okay, I have another page on Facebook. It's called, and I hardly ever get on it anymore. It's called the Craftsman Vacation Group. That Craftsman Vacation Group. It's a maker's thing. I did that for a couple of years, testing tools out and giving them ideas and designs, and me and 20 other people, or 19 other people. And in fact, a couple of them were actors. First one I went to was at Big Bear. I'll never forget this. Big Bear, California. Everclear, the band was there. That night, after we all got there, we all got settled in. The program was to sit in the chairs and listen to this group, Everclear, right? And I only knew one guy that was there, Eric Jacoby. Okay, Eric lives up north in Milwaukee from me. But anyway, we ended up having Don Riggles was there, and who else was there? Okay, one year we had the last year we had Eric Paisley there, and my belt, this belt here, is autographed by Eric Paisley in the band behind it. Funny story about that one. I was taking it off at the end of the program. We were after his set was done, and we get to the bar. We could have drinks and talk, right? So I'm up there talking to him. I go, "You mind it if you guys would sand it, autograph this?" So for about an hour, I was talking to him. It was cool. It was fun. Met a lot of great people, got a lot of great ideas. Unfortunately, the company it used to be Craftsman doesn't exist anymore. The new one is, and I don't know how good the tools are because basically all the tools are the same now. You go to a Lowe's or a Home Depot, tell me, what's the difference between Cobalt, Craftsman, DeWalt? They're all the same. Oh, except one, um, Festool. But why are you going to go out and buy a $500 or $1,000, what do you call it, radio circular saw? When I mean, for what? Just because you want to have a Festool? I mean, see, here's the thing about I got to explain this to people. Number one issue with tools is reliability. If you get a tool that it breaks down, doesn't function, won't last long, um, it's not it's not usable, you can't use it with your hands or whatever, then don't buy it. You do a demo. If you don't like it, you don't, you know, get something that you can get. And the other thing is warranties, guarantees on them. Nobody's going to guarantee it for a lifetime anymore. It's stupid. I mean, that's what happened to Craftsman when they stopped doing the guarantees or warranties and went down the toilet. And I get it because I used to work at a store where you had to return ratchets all the time that were 100 years old. And you had to back it. That's when they started replacing parts in them and giving rehabs because I used to rebuild them. I can do them here. Go to the Hillman department in Lowe's or Home Depot. Every single part that's in that hardware thing, you could replace the ratchets with. So, bottom line is double check things out. Don't necessarily go by, like a Milwaukee. What's the difference between a Milwaukee and a DeWalt and a Craftsman tool? There isn't any. They're all the same. They're all made in China. No, Bosch is not making Germany anymore either. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I could go into stuff. When this stuff here is pine from a slat. Okay, so I tell people when they're going to do demos, if you first learn how to do something, the pine is actually good. Depends on what the grain is. Now this has got some goofy grain in it. That's kind of what I like the grain in it. It is dull, but if you get a stain on this, like I bet you this would look good for gun stock. Gun stock stain is kind of a reddish. But I did a piece of furniture one time, and what I did is they got uh, I believe it was a gun stock stain, or no, it was a cherry wood stain and a really dark stain, and I mixed them together. And when it went across the oak, the grain, it turned out. I posted it on my Facebook page, on my YouTube page here too. It was an armoire. It was an 1890s Eastlake armoire. I mixed the two together, and it went. I mean, and this is the thing. Got to test it out first because the thing was different woods on it. When I got it, it was the piece. Let me just say, when I got that piece of furniture, the armoire was in pieces. I mean, it was rickety. I didn't think I had all the pieces there, but pine, you have to spruce it up a little bit. I use this a lot for teaching people how to turn stuff. You want to make a simple bowl, a segmented bowl. I always cut them like this. You want to practice, you can get a bunch of these. What you do is you got light, dark, light, dark, light, dark, and you kind of going back and forth. You want them to play off each other like a checkerboard, right? So the idea is when you do that, make sure it's softwoods, not hardwoods, because if you mix hard with soft, when you go to sanding it, they'll make divots. It's a little bit more difficult. There's a learning curve on it. It's not a big deal. And I know you asked me about segmenting. Well, okay, so the guys in my club, they don't do it. First, I joined this club like 5 years ago, 6 years ago. And so I was the only one segmenting. I'm laughing. I go up to the president, which is Jason, I forget his name. Maybe it was longer. It was about 7 years ago, maybe. I've been there for a while. I can't remember. Um, he goes, I don't do segmenting. Nobody in there was doing segmenting. And there's a reason why. I did a bowl. People kept screaming for salad bowls, right? I've probably made 3 or 4 salad bowls out of segmented stuff. I'm still sitting one a year and a half later at an art studio in St. Charles, the next town over. It's still sitting there. It's about 11 inches, 10 inches or so around. Nobody wants it anymore. I mean, see, things change. That's the other thing. If you're a businessman, you got to keep up with the sign of the times. What sells, believe it or not, are these, and the price point. Okay, so me and the other guys talk about this all the time. If you're between 25 and 50 or 60 bucks, if that's 25 or 50 or 60 bucks, that'll go. If anything above 65 or 70 bucks, it won't go because people just don't want it. If you go to an art, unless it's something like a sparkly, like jewelry or glass works. Now it's a little bit more involved in that. My wife does fused glass. The other room is a showroom over here with all our stuff, and she's got glass everywhere. It's amazing. But anyway, that's worth more money than my wood. It's just wood, right? And here's the other thing. Excuse me, practical. You have to make something practical, something that people can use. Now, I got back from Hawaii last week. My friend Ernie lives over there, and I usually go over there in the wintertime. But I came back early this year because I have surgery on Monday for my hip. I got pre-ops this afternoon, so that's the reason why I'm doing this early. I don't know what I'm in for, so I don't know what this evening's going to be like, but all the stuff I got to go through is insane. Anyway, when I look for something, I got an idea what people are selling price wise, because I go around and I will. My wife always laughs. Where do you take off to? She sits by the stuff. Okay, she won't go and do it. I do it. So I basically go down. If there's 20 or 30 vendors that are selling trinkets or craft or something or art, I'll walk by and look at each person. What they're doing. And I'll take note of how many woodworkers or how many, whatever it is. And that's how you find out what your guys are doing. It changes around here in the Midwest from year to year. If I was out in Hawaii, this thing I could sell for $100 easy. Easy. Okay, there's this. I got involved in a club out there. It's the Big Island Turners. Great bunch of people, not very big. It's probably about 15, 20 people. Great Island. I love Great Island Turners. They're great. Kelly Dunn, which is a well-known turner, you can look him up. He goes all over the country, he's nationally known, and he's also world renowned for his turning and his stuff. And every time I go out there, I go to his shop. It's over in Hawaii, which is the north part of the Big Islands. It's a drive from where I'm at. So they spend a day up there. There's some great food. Gills, good tacos. Gills has good tacos in Hawaii. You gotta go. If you ever go there, it's great. Anyway, it's down right around there. It's a couple miles from his house, not very far. So I go up there and I'm looking at his shop, and I've posted pictures of him turning and some other stuff. He's got crap everywhere. He's worse than me. He's got turning, but this guy's really good. But we were talking about this price points, and at the meeting, they all laughed at me. I said, y'all are selling stuff for over $100. If I tried that back home, it would never go. And it's kind of true. Even though it's supposed to be a tourist town where I'm at, people are funny from year to year. After COVID, people tightened up on their money. So what I've discovered is you have to come out with something different than the other guys got. Now, pens, for instance, I got kidded around because I never made any pens. Well, just recently, well, about 6 months ago, I actually took a lesson on how to make a pen. No sweat. Problem, I could make dozens of them. But when you go to a show, if you go to an art show or craft show, especially a craft show, every other person is selling pens, and they're like 20, 30, $40, right? I don't want to be in competition with the whole world because the only guy that's going to sell it is the cheapest guy. You know how that goes. And then the bottom line for me here is I want to sell stuff online, but I have no clue how to do it. I have a couple of people I know. Holly Denny, who makes snowmen, great. She makes snowmen for all year round. Actually, she's got, I think, the college ones out there now, and she's great job. I gotta give her more credit too. I should list all you guys on here. I try to keep track, so I'm gonna start notating who you all are, and thank you again. Maybe I'll make you guys a medallion. I got one of those laser cutters, the tool, so we'll see. That's another thing I gotta learn. Yeah. Well, okay, so my friend Gerald Vance, I don't know what you know this guy. Gerald Vance at Appalachian Heritage Woodshop. He's great. He's kind of my mentor. He does a lot of stuff. It isn't just turning. He does mainly like he's got classes this weekend somewhere in Virginia, I think it is, and he's teaching at the Woodcrafters show or store. But he's in a couple clubs, and Gerald's got this thing where he teaches how to take apart a hand plane and put it back together. Because he's like me, we both collect hand planes. I got a bunch of them over here that are worth some bucks. I mean, I got stuff that date back to the date 1890s, 1880s, something like that, and they all work. They're easy. I came across a couple of old Craftsman planes, and I said, this would be kind of cool for a showpiece, right? So I started looking them up, and they started coming out as Craftsman tools in the 1920s, I believe. If you look at the history of the tools, and so I've got one of the first ones they came out with that they made, but it looks like a Stanley one. So it's not very big. The two of them are like that. They're about the same size. One's got a handle on it, the other one doesn't because it's missing. I can make that, but yeah. So I mean, and tools make a big deal, but I've got all kinds of tools up here on this thing here. I got some old. This thing's an old. This is 1800s. What do you call it? Clamp. That's an old level. Old saws. And back in here is an old one of those drill things, the old drills. You go like this. I used to use one of those when I was a kid. It still works, and I got the drill bits to prove it back in the corner in my tool chest. So, anyway, when I do research on stuff, I always go through a bunch of stuff. Now, Colwood, it's fun, except it could be kind of temperamental. The biggest problem I've had with Colwood is sometimes when you turn it, if you're doing a bowl, it looks fine on the outside, but then you get halfway down and all of a sudden you get this rot in there, punky stuff. So you're going, oh shoot. So you kind of have to go with the flow. Sometimes I've been able to do resin in it to fill in the gaps. Sometimes I just leave it natural. But it's like anything else though. It's like spalted maple, I have the same problem. I like spalted maple, but I don't. It's just too much work. It just seems like I beat myself up to When you spend 2/3 of your time sanding, that's what I liked about this. I didn't spend a lot of time sanding, but like when I told somebody the other day, I said I'm gonna put a wipe on poly on this, right? So the one thing you don't do is use a rag. You use a brush, all right? Use one of those cheapo brushes for like 99 cents that you can throw away. Because the reason I say that is when you get to this part, it's going to pick up debris. No matter what you do, you clean it, you blow it off, you still got debris. And the last thing you want to do is contaminate, your finish, right? So jars, old jars, you get old pickle jars or old olive jars, keep them so that you could take what's in the can a little bit out and pour it in a glass jar or something, and you don't have to worry about it getting contaminated. Usually, put it in enough to you could do this, do a little at a time, and then throw the glass away, or you can keep it, clean it out. I mean that makes a big difference when you're trying to finish something really good off. Um, and then the other thing is the finish you're going to use. Now, because this is a crabapple tree, it's got all kinds of weird colors on it. And I looked at it and I'm going, when I turned it, I said, what the heck? So I've been trying to figure out which way to. I marked them all, by the way, before I sanded. I marked where all these things are supposed to go, right? One guy goes, well, did you cut the wrong side? Because I've been known to do that. Thinking it was this. It might have been this. I don't know. Yeah. But with this, I like this. It turned out really nice and simple. There's a couple of things I can warn you about when you do a box like this, when you're doing a lid. And this seems to be a problem with me. Now, I made it just ever so much. When it comes down, it just barely fits. I mean, it's not tight, and you can lose it. Because you can go like this. The reason I say that is once you put your finish on, you put enough coats in there, it'll tighten up. And then with the wood, expansion and contraction, because it's wood, it's always going to be porous. If you're worried about expansion and contraction with bowls, then just do resin. I've done resin bowls too. I've been around there doing that. Big Dare, done that. I did outhouses. I've done vanities. The vanity was cool. The reason I say that is because I used this to make a whole vanity out of. It was 44, I remember that, 44 inches long. It had to be made a certain side. And you had a couple of drawers on either side. In the middle was open, then the bottom was open so you could put towels. It was a rack kind of like what that table is. But I made it 100% out of this. My neighbor says, can you make this for our house? I said, yeah. And a couple of things I got to warn you about, though. When you take a 3/4 inch wood and you're taking it down to 5/8, all right, that's the big thing. Now this is white oak, I believe, or red oak. Anyway, the grains. When you match wood up, you want to make sure that your wood is the same grain. In other words, you don't want to like dark. I use this stuff here for. I got about 1,000 feet to that flooring on the side of the shop over here. I got for next to nothing. So I scavenge. But the idea was when I made that it's there as far as I know. It's still there. I made that like 15, 20 years ago. Mary Pat, I gotta mention her. She's my best customer. She's also our good friend. Her and her husband, Greg. So they're number one. Can't get any better. Other than that, I'm going to let you guys go because I'm going to go get some more coffee. But I'll be, depending on what goes on this afternoon, all right? I'll come back on tonight. If I'm not on tonight, I don't know when I'll be back on. My surgery's on Monday. Don't know what time that is. I'll probably find out today. And all I can tell you is I won't be in the shop for a lengthy amount of time, but doesn't mean I won't be on. I could probably, uh, because I don't know how I'm going to go up and downstairs. I don't. It's up to them. Then, or up to me actually, how I walk on my bike. Then, what I'll do is I'll probably just I'm going to be doing research on stuff. But what I need is I'm putting together a list of stuff you want to see. All right, I do the train stuff and I do car stuff too. So I got a Mustang, a '66. I got to actually work on that. But car shows are going to be a little bit out this year because I got a major problem with my power steering. That means I have to get underneath it and take it apart. And unless I pay this guy named Chris to do it, I may not get my car back this summer either, though, because he's way backed up. If you're in Illinois and you're close by the Fox Valley, St. Charles, Geneva, Batavia, let me know. I always like to do a shop tour to people. I also like turning. You know, if you want a lesson in turning, or just I do it for free, so I'm not gonna charge anybody. And I talk. Sometimes I talk too much. Yeah, I know. Yeah. And I'd like to hear from you guys. So if you've got a channel, let me know. I'll subscribe to it. Love to see what your projects are. Always take pictures of it, and I'd love to see if I can flip them on my page. I don't know how that works yet on the channel. I'm deaf, dumb, and blind when it comes to YouTube. So I've been working on this, and my training room is down there where that Union. I don't know if you can see that Union Pacific. The training room is there. So I got the best of both worlds there. So if you see my Engage stuff on here, the only reason I'm doing Engage on here because I can't do lives over there. I only have 16 people. I need 50. And that thing has been sitting like that for I don't know how long, like a year. So anyway, I'm gonna let you go. And everybody stay warm wherever you are. If you're not, if you're down in Florida or Hawaii, well, stay out of the sun. Don't get sunburned. Thanks for watching the Dutchman's Wood Shack. Questions or comments, leave them because I need them. God bless. Thank you very much. And be creative. Do something outside the box.